It's another round of the salty takeaways with a bitter end. It is John. It is Jarrett as we discuss what happened at Punk Stadium. No, it's not Daft Punk or anything like that.
That's what I thought it was.
I know. It's Drive Pink without the consonants. So
I thought it was just, did we loosely translate what we saw on a Roman slab and then we put it on a stadium?
Let's see. So DR5. That sounds like a hee-haw. That sounds like you're dialing up junior samples at that point. DR5 P and K. That's what it sounds like to me.
This might also be a previously unreleased album from, like, I don't know, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem.
I could stipulate to that. But crowd of both 17s and Inter Miami folks were there in Fort Lauderdale at Driv Pink for the 1-1 draw. And I'm going to go through what Nick has to say here. And Nick will be joining us, obviously, in and out of the week and giving us his viewpoints. But his top two takes in all of this, Jarrett, are that he's good with the road draw. Obviously, some issues on defense to clean up, but on short rest, major heat and injury issues, he's good with the draw. Joseph getting his physical confidence back is the big takeaway. We need to stop comparing the team to 2018. The team is gelling. It'll be a riot when it comes together.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is a matter of, like, you're comparing it to 2018, and 2018 was the culmination of Tata Martino's plan, basically. I mean, you might not see what you want to see out of Gabriel Heinze's plan until 2022, which sucks. I mean, because, we're impatient because we're human. Yeah, the heat was bad. The short rest was tough. Gabriel Heinze talked about both of those things, about how just grueling it was. Is even if it's 80-something degrees, when you're used to temperatures that we've had recently, even in Georgia, like it hit 80-something today, and we all thought we were going to die.
Yeah.
But when you deal with other temperatures like that, and you haven't had them in a while, man, they're tough and they're draining, and especially when you've been on short rest. As far as defending goes, yeah, I mean, you give up that goal. To me, I need to go back and look at it. It looked to me like what a lot of people have talked about. It looked like Bello was trying to pass off Morgan to Sosa, and Sosa hesitated, and then Morgan took that space in between, split it, and put a really, really good finish on, because Lewis Morgan is really good.
Yes.
Really, really good.
Yes.
If we're going to talk about defending, I don't want to hear about MLS defenses when Mr. Shawcross comes over from England and then just gets run by Joseph Martinez because he refuses to close down Joseph Martinez.
Well, when you're a Redwood, and that's what you had with Breck Shea, who's more of a mobile Redwood than Ryan Shawcross. But when you brought Shawcross over from Stoke, he's a tall drink of water, and he's like a rush end that you would see out of Seattle or something, playing for Pete Carroll and the Seahawks. But Joseph, absolutely. And going back into the buildup of that particular goal, I mean, it was Lennon, Mulraney, Hindman, Joseph. Great teamwork on the right-hand side, and Joseph just left the Redwoods standing in place.
He did, and it was impressive. I mean, it was what you want to see from Joseph as he's coming back and getting his confidence back. And we've talked about it. Everyone, I think, around the nation has talked about it. It's you just got to let him get his confidence back. And it's really easy to be impatient about letting him get his confidence back, but that's kind of where you're at right now. And it's not just confidence in terms of can he do it, but his confidence in his body and the ability to take that ball, to spin the way he did, and to fire it. It's vintage Joseph, and it's what you want to see. I mean, I know for some people, vintage Joseph might be scoring a tap-in, early cross, or skying a header, but he is more than that. So it's great to see from him. Sure, you'd love to see another goal or two. Gabriel Heinze thought they had another goal in them or two. As that first half went on, they didn't find it. And, you kind of had to think, I think there was some optimism going into the second half of, man, we've really carried the ball. Miami's had to chase shadows a bit. Maybe they'll be tired. But at the end of the day, the battery pack was a little lower on Atlanta's side.
And obviously, we'll get into the Twitter timeline because we've asked folks traditionally after the match is over if they want to give things for us to talk about. We will, and we'll get into that as we go. But let's just go in temporal order, as I'm kind of want to do here. And you get into the early teens, and you see once again the value of Santi Sosa, where he cleans out Blaise Matuidi, and Matuidi, by the 14th minute, cannot continue.
You're just doing him a favor and taking them down to the right number of designated players, right? Are we still making
yes,
that joke?
Yes.
Okay,
why,
good.
yes,
Good.
we are. Until we hear from Major League Soccer about any kind of decisions or sanctions or punishments, I think we should.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so Santi Sosa cleans out Blaise Matuidi in an absolutely beautiful way, and thoroughly enjoyed watching that.
Then you end up with, Joseph's goal, obviously, a couple minutes earlier. And then you had the moment in the 17th where I'm sure a lot of 17s were sitting there and kind of clawing at their television sets as Brad had a bit of a fumble and it was just off the line. It was that nervous moment that you're sitting there and going, just hang on to the ball and hang on to the lead for more than 8 minutes.
Yeah, it was very much that. And it's like, I feel like we've been through that at this point. I think we went through that with the Rocco Rios Novo.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to put some stick 'em on them gloves, and that is the big thing though. Is you get that early goal, especially on the road. You get that early goal, you get that bit of confidence, and then you want to hang on to with every fiber of your being. And I think that's really important to do. And yes. I thought they did a good job of that, and that's one of those things of, I don't mean it to sound a defeatist way, but you're like, just get it to halftime. Just get it to halftime like this. Let's refresh. And I thought they actually didn't even need to get it to halftime. I thought they were better after the hydration break. Maybe a chance to kind of catch your wind a bit because, again, you're thin on oxygen at that point.
And in the next minute, actually, where you had the moment, and I'll have to go back and look, and this was the moment where Higuain and Morgan get in behind and Brad has to make another save. I legitimately thought that the ball was out. And I thought I saw from the end zone cam as the chance was completed and they go to the replay over on ABC, I thought the ball was out. And that to me was a separate thing. And I thought that may have been why Gabriel Heinze was, gesticulating at the officials that the ball was out and the play shouldn't have continued. But then, once again, you have George Bello who gets caught and it ends up being a save for Gazan there in the 18th. It was another close call.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of hanging on at times because, again, you're on the road in MLS on short rest in, like, miserable heat. You do what you can, and you don't apologize if something goes your way. And we'll get to that, I'm sure, in a bit as we start talking about VAR and, potential missed calls. Is you don't apologize for that sort of thing when you're on the road in MLS, especially if you're on short rest, especially if you're in hostile environments, and you're just kind of trying to survive against a team that – already has kind of developed that mentality. They don't really care if they go down a goal. They're happy to snag two back. It doesn't bother them. They've already done it to Philadelphia late in games. So it's not a team of if you get up on them, they're going to fall apart. No, they're fine doing this. And you weathered that for a long time. Should you have gotten a second one in the first half? Would have made your life a lot easier. And now what we know would have made the difference. But you didn't know that at the time.
29th minute, you had, 3 minutes before that, you have LGP reintroducing himself to Joseph on the pitch with a foul. Then in the 29th, one of those moments that you were talking about where Marcelino Moreno was in transition. Great dummy by Joseph at that point, and Mulroney had the chance to try to get it in the net past McCarthy, but he ends up chipping it and ends up being an easy save. Then leading into the hydration break, you have the moment where Pizarro picks Bello's pocket, but he goes back and helps defend that very, very well. Then Lennon gets the shot on McCarthy in the 32nd that gets us to the hydration break.
Yeah, this is something I want to see more of from guys like Bello and Lennon is pull that trigger. I know we went over this last week, and I got chastised in a very in a joking manner about, well, that's what PT did, but you still have to have guys pull the trigger at times. You don't have golazos and you don't have rebounds, and weird things happen if you don't pull the trigger sometimes. Lennon does. Bello recovers nicely. This is the thing about playing it out of the back, though, that you can't be afraid. You just can't be afraid to play out of the back and to make those mistakes. And I think Bello did a good job of recovering. There were a couple of errors. I mean, a couple of errors that make you scratch your head. I'm going to break the timeline here. The Jon's free kick that led to the goal is still one of the most head scratching things I've seen. Like, just there were 3 white shirts in the path of that ball.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I don't know what that was, but as far as playing out of the back, Santi Sosa makes a couple of mistakes. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just where the DeJohn instance was, I think he was trying to get height on it, and he ended up chunking it, and it ended up being a ground ball. I think that's in looking at trying to gauge the intent. I think he was trying to go over the deepest of those 3. He ends up clicking it, and it goes amongst them, and it creates that opportunity going the other way. That's just my personal thought about what I was looking at with that particular play. I think he was trying to go over with it, and it was a mishit, and he ended up hitting directly into the ball, which went straight line, and that created the opportunity the other way.
Yeah, I mean, that might be as simple as it was. And you still had some mistakes. Santi Sosa wasn't perfect, had a bad giveaway or 2. So it really wasn't ideal, but you can't be afraid of playing out the back, and you're going to give up chances because you're going to play out of the back. You're going to play the high line. So you kind of just have to be brave about it. And it's so much easier said than done. It's really easy to sit here and say, well, we want to play out of the back and do this. Okay, but in the moment, man, that's tough to do because if you make a mistake, it can be crippling. So you just got to be really careful about it.
Yeah.
And you got to not be afraid to make those mistakes. But I think that's a thing across the field. Anytime you play this game, man, you can't be afraid to make mistakes. You got to try stuff.
Wrapping up the moments of the first half, Marcelino Moreno out of the hydration break created some pressure, and Shawcross, once again, the Redwood, got caught. And it turned out to where Chapman had to make a tackle at the top of the box to stop another opportunity for Atlanta United. Joseph was wide in the 42nd. Miles to Eric Lopez, great touch from Miles, even though it was offside in the 43rd. Then you had the double shot in the area. Both of them were blocked with Joseph and Eric Lopez. Gregor ends up with a wide shot that got us to the break at 1-0.
And look, like this is hindsight talking about it at halftime or after the game, of Atlanta had chances. You saw more chances. I want to see more from guys, and we'll get into that in a minute, I'm sure, with the questions. I've seen some of the questions, and it was a scatter plot of questions. Somebody loaded a shotgun with buckshot and fired it at the tweet. Bless all of you. We do appreciate your feedback, and
yes.
Even if we don't always agree with it, it's part of having a conversation. So
yes.
Bring it in, man. Bring it on. Let's hug it out. Let's work it out. That's all okay. But it's you had chances that you want to put away, and I think that's what's coming. I know we're kind of in this weird thing right now where people are talking about chance creation and the pluses and minuses of chance creation, but man. It's better to create some that go empty than to create none at all, because it's a whole nother level of people yelling about things if you're not creating any chances at all.
Second half, you had Jake fouled by Breck Shea. The set piece ended up in Marcelino Moreno's crosshairs, and that one ended up going both high and wide. You had another opportunity by Miami a couple minutes later. Leandro Gonzalez Perez. We
can still call him LGP. He's an OG.
Yeah, and had the header high there. Gregor with a shot and a save by Brad. Then you had the awful giveaway by Sosa, which I know a lot of folks were looking at in the 60th, which created a corner. And a lot of folks were thinking that there was contact with Miles. And if you're an Inter Miami fan, you were thinking that Miles got a hand in there that changed the rotation of the ball, and there should have been a penalty shout. I didn't see any rotational change, despite what anyone in a whitewashed pink jersey was there to say.
See, I can't tell. I need to look at it better. I was watching that stretch of the game on my phone. We decided to go to my mother-in-law's for a barbecue. So I'm sitting there watching it on my phone. It was great too. You had smoked salmon and some chicken and some pork and some corn on the cob. It was wonderful. But that's not important. What is important is I can't tell if it hit his hand or not, but I'm watching it on a smaller screen. I got to go back and look at it again to be sure, because it's one of those where they called it a corner, and I'm like, what did it hit if not his hand?
Yeah, so unless you're thinking
curious
that the body was in a natural position.
Yeah, like, did you think it hit his knee or something?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was very curious how they came to that conclusion came to the conclusion of that's a corner kick, but it didn't come off his hand, the closest thing to the ball.
Yeah.
But I got to look at it again to be sure.
So that was the first moment. Then you had the hydration break, the double swap. Alex DeJohn comes in for Jake. Kubo Torres comes in for Joseph to run like bat out of hell for 20 minutes like he's been doing this year. We talked about the goal in the 77th with Lewis Morgan. Chapman got the yellow card finally in the 80th. You had the set piece with Brooks Lennon that was a header that was right on in the 87th, and then you had Brad Gazan with a save in the 90th, and then the 50-50 ball, which was the other moment where folks were looking at either VAR, if you're an Inter Miami fan, VAR or a penalty or whatever on Ulloa. To me, it was a 50-50 ball, and Brad addressed it post-game. What's he supposed to do in that instance? Not go after it with his hands. I thought it was a 50-50. Inter Miami wanted a penalty. I didn't think there was one.
I'm going to defer to the Goalkeepers Union and our local representative, Jess, on that when we can get a chance to talk to her about it, because I feel like she's going to side with Brad in the Goalkeepers Union philosophy. It was one of those. It was weird, because it did feel like he's going to reach out and make a play on the ball, but I don't blame Miami for putting a shout in there for it, it's the same thing with LGP flopping down in the box in the 80-something minute.
Yeah, well, actually, that was 2 minutes later, right there at the end. Yeah,
where it's of course. And I tweeted about it at the time. LGP's baiting for a PK. I don't blame him for trying, but man, let's not pretend that's not what it is. Guys have been doing that for eons. He's doing what he thinks in that gaggle of humanity is what's going to do best for him and his. That is what it is, man. I don't really care if he did that, in the sense of he kind of there were hands on him, but he went down super easy. He was looking for a PK late to win the game for his team. That is what it is. But man, so here's the thing we have to remember about all of these: VAR looks at everything. Just because the head ref doesn't make the hand signal of doom and walk over to the monitor and look at it, that doesn't mean VAR ignored the play. And I think we're through that point nowadays where everybody understands that, but I just want to make sure, just because they don't go to the monitor does not mean that VAR does not look at the play. They look at everything.
All right, now let's go to Twitter for the remainder of the show for folks who have chimed in to get what's on their mind off their chest and into the timeline. Matt Wagner says that we're overworking Sosa, and it showed today. Lots of mistakes from a quality player.
I mean, he's tired. A lot of these guys are tired. He should be. They've played an obscene number of games in the last 2+ weeks. So, yeah, probably very tired. We had the same thing, I think. If you want to find a parallel for that, go look at what happened with Brooks Lennon last year when you went to Nashville and just shipped 4 goals to Nashville. Yep. Same thing happened. Guys are tired. They make mistakes. It happens.
Dan Graham is in, and he wants to know how Alex DeJohn is subbed on instead of Hernandez if you're pushing Lennon to right wing.
So I'm curious who you put it right back in this instance, because apparently it's not going to be Ronald Hernandez, maybe Jack Gurr.
Well, yeah, but I mean the way that I'm looking at it is if Jake. If you're pushing, so the sub is DeJohn for Jake. So then at that point, that means to me Lennon moves up-ish, and then you end up with DeJohn at the back as a position that he's comfortable with. And for me, I look at this when it comes to DeJohn or Hernandez. I'm looking at this as how they have responded in that week of practice. Who does Gabriel Heinze sit there and think in this situation with 20 minutes to go can give me a good 20 minutes in the role that I'm wanting them to be in? So for me, I'm looking at probably the previous week and getting what Gabriel Heinze wants in that situation. That to me is why it was DeJohn instead of Hernandez.
I guess I'd love to know what. I guess my question is, I'd love to know what has been shown in practice to see the moves we've seen in the same way that you haven't seen Jackson Conway. You've seen Kubo Torres be that guy come off the bench. I'd love to know what's going on in practice that we've gotten there.
Endgame says, without Joseph on the pitch, we are, to put it kindly, uninspired. That needs to be remedied.
Somebody's got to step up and do something. So,
and also with the injuries in this specific instance, if you don't have Ezequiel Barco and you don't have Jurgen Damm, Jarrett, one of the things that you've always talked about is positional gravity. And with Joseph already with a goal on the board, I think what you're going to do is you're going to try to make others beat you. And to your point, then you're looking for Marcelino Moreno and what we've seen. And we saw efforts from Marcelino Moreno. We saw stuff from Brooks Lennon to try to create things in the box. I think in the end, it comes down to those other individuals putting their chances away. And that's a topic that we've had for the last couple of these.
Yeah, I mean, this is chance creation we've talked about. Chance creation is you're creating chances, and you're trying to create quality chances, and guys have to take advantage of those. You've got to have guys, because, I mean, Miami's going to be saying the same thing, though. They created opportunities off of turnovers. They're absolutely going to feel like they should have done a better job at it. So it's not just an Atlanta thing when it comes to chance creation and feeling like you're letting chances getting away from yourself. So I do want to make that kind of like give that reminder.
Conversation Heart at Nickajack 88. A draw on the road in the heat on short rest without 3 or 4 top players and Joseph still working his way back is fine. Atlanta depends on young players at key points. Those players need to be switched on 5% more often. Sosa and Bello both had asleep at the wheel moments.
And I think a lot of that was mentality but mental fatigue, especially
the second 45.
Yeah, especially for Sosa in the second 45. I think he's just gassed. I think it was just like he's beat, he's exhausted. He's running on fumes at that point. So, you're a little sloppy. You're making mistakes that you usually don't make, and it's going to happen sometimes. Having a week off for the first time all season, I hope we see a different team come out against Montreal next Saturday. Not to say that this was a bad team, but one that's, kind of 90 minutes fit both mentally and physically. And it's going to be tough, but playing in Champions League is tough. Atlanta's done with that now. Philadelphia's the only MLS team that still has to deal with this. But you saw it from all of the teams that played CONCACAF Champions League. It beats on you physically. It's just crushing.
G-Rod says the 100-year-old backups at striker could be changed, and Turner Kirby comes in and says, I'm already seeing the we aren't very good takes. I don't understand what people expect when Barco and Damm are injured, and we haven't even seen Hasechu yet this year. It's almost like missing pieces that could be starting is detrimental to a team. Thought we got that last year.
Oh, you're also missing Mo Adams, who I thought was a really good contributor last year. For all this talk about the front office, man, and I get some of it, because you feel like some of these guys haven't done what you thought they were expected to be. Man, Mo Adams was such a good get. Mm-hmm. Mo Adams is really good. Has not been able to play right now.
Trey Morrison says we really missed forward-thinking subs with Barco, Chol, and Damm all out. No way we were pulling a goal out of that lineup once Joseph was subbed off. I would like to have seen what Jackson could have done in that scenario.
I would too. Like I said, I'm very curious what's gone on that front, because I would like to see him as well and see what he brings to the table as opposed to Kubo. And it's not. I don't mean it as a slight against Kubo, but Kubo is. You kind of know what you're getting from him, and aside from that, that stint against Philadelphia in the first round of CONCACAF Champions League, I haven't been as impressed with him as maybe other people have, but somehow slightly more impressed, I guess, than other people. I don't know. I haven't loved him, but I'm also not going to tie him to a stake.
Bartimus Prime is on the board. He says, hi from Fort Lauderdale. Felt like we let that one slip away, but a road point's always good. Amazing to be with Atlanta United fans in a stadium again We had so much fun cheering and jeering LGP and Breck. Soccer is back in all capital letters. P.S. hashtag OFYO.
Yeah, I saw that. Everybody, Atlanta and Miami people doing the
Yeah.
the Arnold meme from Predator of the two hands clasping.
Yes.
Of agreement of the OFYO. So that was funny. I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed that more than I thought I would. I mean, it's one of those. You hate to let 3 points slip away, but you also take a road point anytime.
Mm-hmm.
Like the philosophy of this league, man, is you win your games at home and you draw your games on the road, and you can be in really, really good shape at the end of the year compared to most teams. So far, you've done that job on the road for part of it. You went and got a draw in Orlando. You went and got a draw in Miami, Fort Lauderdale. You went and lost a close game in New England with the penalty against a team that is solid, if maybe not perfect, but that's okay. I mean, it's still you're still dealing with CONCACAF Champions League. I think you're forgiven for being, I don't want to say more critical going forward because I don't want to give full license to that.
Yeah.
But I think you're forgiven for expecting maybe a little more switched on-ness because you're going to have a week's worth of practice instead of, a couple days game. It was the same situation we had with Stephen Glass as the interim last year, and it's just stuff, man.
Michael Head is in, and he says, if Jackson Conway is not going to get playing time on the first team, will the club please send him to the twos? He needs to play somewhere. Otherwise, this is a wasted year in this development. And what I would say, at least in this particular context, is that Michael, with the twos not playing this weekend and not playing until next weekend, I think it was an opportunity once again for him to show what he can do during the week. And if a situation where Gabriel Heinze thought Jackson Conway could be advantageous late, if you need to put balls on the box and you need his height and you need to have him put something away, I think that would be more of an advantageous situation for Jackson Conway to be in, instead of where you have a game with 20 minutes to go and you're trying to put it away. And I think there you would need that veteran presence. It would not have surprised me under a different circumstance if Lisandro Lopez was that individual that would have taken the spot of Joseph with 20-plus minutes to go instead of Cubo Torres. Remember, Lisandro Lopez is still dealing with family issues. And so I think that you're looking at veteran involvement in situations versus someone who would be young and needed in a different variable. So at least that's my perspective.
Yeah, I mean, without a twos game this week, it made sense to carry him. Next weekend is a whole different kettle of fish. I'll be very interested to see how that goes and see if Lisandro is back from bereavement.
Yeah.
Of course, I hope Lisandro takes all the time he needs with everything that's happened with him and with his family. But I don't know if Jackson's that guy next week on the bench or if you send him down with the play with the twos. I mean, do you I want to see how the twos line up if you do that, by the way, because I mean, do you put him up top? Do you put him with Mac Ejope? Not to derail this into a twos show, but man, I want to see how that lines up.
That's next weekend.
Yeah, exactly. As far as this goes, yeah, he's up with you because there's no twos game to conflict with it, and he's going to be on that bench. Now, I would like to see him as well, but I'm not Gabriel Heinze. I can't make that decision, but I can tell you, I'd like to see him as well because I think he's getting better and better as he gets older and is getting more dangerous and provides you a lot of physicality up top and can cause plenty of problems. But we'll just have to wait for him to get his opportunity and hope he snags it and doesn't give it up.
All right, last one on the board for this go-round of the Salty Takeaways, and everyone who did contribute, obviously, you're still on the timeline. We can address them starting Monday and going forward all week long when it comes to looking at the matches. Atlanta gets ready for CF Montreal next weekend in front of a full lower bowl at Mercedes-Benz. Austin at Bring In to Beef. I know people will crap on today's match, but I think you need to compare today's performance to our match against Inter Miami in September. This is the progress made from 8 months ago. So going back to the goalless draw, September 2nd, Inter Miami had 10 shots, 3 on target, 39% possession. Atlanta had 5 shots, 1 on target, 61% possession, 84% passing accuracy, and so on. Today, Inter Miami 17 shots, 7 on target, 38% possession, 25 fouls on the day by Inter Miami, 4 yellows. Atlanta United 14 shots, 5 on target, 62% possession, passing accuracy of 89%, 15 fouls, and 3 yellows. So those numbers are somewhat different, Jarrett, from September to today.
Yeah, I mean, you're installing a new mentality, and it's starting to take hold. And it's still going to take time. You want it to get better, and you want the numbers to get better, and you want the performances to get better, and you want the goals to flow with it. So, I mean, it's great that you were able to do that. You still would like to clean up some stuff at the back. You still like to clean up some communication stuff at the back. You don't want to let Lewis Morgan dance through your back line like he's going through a field of poppies.
No.
You want and one of the big things is you have Joseph and that killer mentality in this game that you didn't have last year. I mean, you were just searching for someone to grab that moment, and at times it felt like not everybody was up to grab that moment last year. Joseph was willing to grab that moment today. I had thought a couple of guys should have grabbed it as well, but they didn't, and you still got out of there with a road draw. It's not great, but it's better to feel like, man, we got a draw on the road in a game we feel like we should have won. That's a better feeling than, man, we got to, like, for me, that's a better feeling than, like, I don't know how we pulled that road draw. There's kind of like a chuckling survival feeling, I think, that comes with the latter. But with the former, at least it makes me feel better about how we played, as opposed to, thank God we got out of there. It's for me, it's more of a, hey, we played pretty well. We just couldn't tie it all together, and we're going to have to tie it all together next time because, yeah, I mean, it's a road point. You can feel good about that, but now I think you look at it and say, we can play that team, and we can play that team missing guys and tired in the heat. Now imagine if we've got rest and everybody healthy, what we can do against that team.
1-1 draw. Atlanta United goes to Fort Lauderdale and gets the draw against Inter Miami. For Nick Alifi, for @Jarrett_Smith, I'm at OSG Nelson. That's another round of the Salty Takeaways. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you on the air.